For all of the youth, young adults out there, how do you suggest they engage in discourse, in political or philosophical discourse, without having that fear of respectability politics? Oh, I'm not going to say something because I'm going to offend someone.
Well, so I was thinking about this on, so I spent a lot of time on Twitter, and there's a bunch of people who aren't young adults, people who are, older adults who, in my view, should know better, who engage in just useless discussion of trying to, signal how clever they are, or really, say something disparaging to somebody else to try to get some more retweets and likes and so forth. And so it's not just young adults, it's really everybody who has got to figure out, if I'm going to put something out there into the world, what am I contributing? And now, I don't want to individualize this problem. I don't want to say each of you has to go out there and figure out how to be the most responsible, respectable contributor to the discussion. I think partly it's a design issue. It's a systems issue. Twitter is designed in such a way that the more outraged people are over the more things, the more money the company makes. Facebook may have a similar type of a model. And so, each of us can only do so much to override our primal psychological instincts. And if you have a company that's spending, billions of dollars to figure out exactly how to tap into those primal instincts and make us as angry as possible all the time, it's maybe asking too much of a 17-year-old to figure out how to carefully, contribute to a useful political discussion. So one thing I guess I would say is, maybe I'll lean against my initial impulse here, is we do each of us have the responsibility to try to contribute in a meaningful way. And we do each of us have the responsibility not to just dunk on somebody because it makes us feel good in the moment and we think we'll get 15 retweets. We have a responsibility anytime we speak to speak responsibly. And that doesn't mean to speak in such a way that we don't try to ever offend someone. Sometimes if we say something that maybe is true or that maybe is at least worth considering, we will offend people. But we have a responsibility not to offend people willy-nilly, to offend people for the sake of offending them. Because then, if you try to tell people what we should be striving for here is an ideal where we can say things that are hard truths, we can say things that may offend people but need to be said. Well, if you have a bunch of people just saying nonsense offending people, it's hard to keep the two apart. It just seems like, well, everybody's just being a jerk. So what, let's just keep certain ideas off the table. So I think that you have to practice responsible offense giving, where the offense giving is a side effect of saying something that really needs to be said, rather than being the point of the comment. And that's something that each of us has a responsibility for. At the same time, there's a risk of saying if only each of us would behave better, everything would be fine. There's a serious design issue here. There's a serious responsibility issue at the level of corporations and possibly even at the level of government regulation. Again, government regulation is riskier because depending on who's sitting on the committee, they can pull the strings to regulate things in favor of their group. So that's always a risk. But there's got to be just as an example, suppose that instead of getting a like for saying something totally outrageous, that you could gamify useful discourse. Maybe you get a badge because a lot of people through some sort of algorithm have indicated that you're particularly good at saying things that are helpful, or that when somebody gives a criticism, you respond in a way that's not knee-jerk, but rather measured. If you could gamify useful discourse so that the thing that you're trying to get is a star for contributing meaningfully, I don't know how one would do this. But we'd be in a totally different universe from the one we're in now, where the more attention you get is often, scales directly with the outrageousness of what you say. And that's just absolutely fatal to a productive discourse.